So welcome everyone. Hope you're having a lovely week. It's always so wonderful to get a chance to catch up and to see everyone. So maybe we can just go round the room and people can just share how they're all doing. Henry and Marion, how are you guys?
We're fine, thank you. Jacqueline, can I ask you a question, please? On the newsletter from the shul in these couple of weeks ago, they said that Feldmans were offering, Purim plates, and every time I speak to them, nobody seems to know anything about it. Are they going to take part in it this year?
Do you mean what do you mean for Mishlach Manot?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they should have. I think they were going to have Mishlach Manot packages.
Yeah.
Did they didn't say that they had them yet?
No, and whoever I spoke to on the phone didn't seem to know they were going to have them. This is the whole point.
Okay.
I was going to leave it till this evening and send them an email tomorrow to remind them. They do know I want.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd be sort of disappointed if they don't do it.
I think they were going to be, because they one of the projects we were doing was like a mystery Mishlach Manot swap, and one of the options on there was that you could get them from Feldmans. So
exactly.
I'll follow up with that.
If you could, thank you. We're not going to take part in that because we can't physically do it as such. If it was done on our behalf, it would be a different matter.
Yeah,
but we would like to.
There is something else as well that I did see, which the US I think was offering, which was a chance that they can do something for you. But I think the idea of getting Mishlach Manot from somewhere like Flax and just giving it to a neighbour is a really lovely.
It is a lovely idea.
Way of doing it. So I'll check that that's still a possibility. Do they deliver to you?
Well, that's what I wanted to find out. You couldn't take it any further.
Yeah,
yes, they usually deliver to me.
Yeah, so then that should be something that they could include in your delivery. Fine.
Yes,
I will find out.
Thank you very much.
So how are the Bentleys this evening?
Yes, we're good.
Yeah, we're all right. You know, she didn't kill me this week, so that's a bonus. You know, it's good.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. You've had a Simcha-filled week, right?
Oh, yes.
It was lovely. I was just talking about it before you came on. It was really very special.
Yes.
We actually just, we just had my niece's bat mitzvah was last night on Zoom. And her older brother's bar mitzvah was on Erev Pesach. So what we said, which was really interesting, is because we have Malka is a girl and then Shlomo's a boy, she has the opposite. And if Malka would have been a boy, we would have been stuck in the same situation as she had now. And if Shlomo was a girl, so both of her simchas have now been COVID simchas, and you know, hopefully will. So it really is. It's really just trying to make something special out of what's quite challenging, because at the end of the day, you know, it's so interesting. Nobody's missing the fact that we can't have big parties. It's not about that. It's about just being with grandparents. I really think so.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was just saying that after Shabbat, when we had the Zoom party, there were people on from South Africa, Australia, America, Israel. And we wouldn't, if they were just going to have a lunch after shul. They weren't doing much anyway originally, and we wouldn't have had all those people. And it was amazing. And they had several rabbis there talking, and they all gave, you know, it was very special.
Rabbi Herman spoke.
Oh, wonderful.
It was lovely. He did something quite wonderful, actually, because my son and grandson are both Liverpool fans. You know, not from me, I'm a Manchester United fan, but they're Liverpool, you know. But Rabbi Herman was very clever, and he put up a picture of a Liverpool player and said, what is the difference between a good player and a great player? And he asked everybody on Zoom what the answer was.
Wonderful.
And does anybody?
Shlomo's just chimed in that a good player is from Man United. That was his. You'll appreciate that.
Agree.
What's the difference between a good player and a great player?
Great player. Well, somebody wrote up, put a message up saying about £200,000 a week.
and the rest.
The answer was actually consistency, someone who's consistent the whole time. And he brought that into how he should be consistent in his Judaism and his way of life, which was fascinating and so
beautiful,
clever.
beautiful,
Yes.
and so appropriate to a 13-year-old.
Yes.
So clever.
Yes.
Wonderful. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting that, like, the added bonus of suddenly the world feels a lot smaller in some ways, that everyone can come onto the same simcha together.
Yes.
Yeah.
From all over the place.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it's like a family reunion.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It was lovely.
The poor people in Israel, of course, it was 2 hours ahead, so it was,
Late.
nearly 11 o'clock at night for them.
Yeah.
People in Australia, it was in the morning.
So funny.
Yeah.
In Australia, it's forward, right? So it's like Sunday morning.
10 hours forward, yes.
Yeah.
How amazing, but we all were there together.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Stuart, how's your week been?
Very busy, fairly busy, as busy as I want to. We had a good session at Sage. I think we had over 200 people on there on Tuesday. We had Jeffrey Feld. Yes, we had Jeffrey Feld, who used to run the Cumberland Hotel in Bournemouth. And he gave the history of the Jewish hotels in Bournemouth. It was quite a laugh. I must tell you one story he told us. On Yom Kippur, they used to have 2 waitresses dedicated to room service. That was at normal times, normal holiday times, whatever. Anybody who wanted food in their room, any time of day, they employed 2 waitresses to do that. On Yom Kippur, they had to have 6 waitresses because so many people were ordering food in their rooms on Yom Kippur. Such as Jewish people making their own. Unbelievable. Even he could not understand it. That he had to employ 4 extra waitresses just on Yom Kippur to provide room service.
Oh, yeah.
What a wonderful story.
Oh, yeah. Well, do you know what? You just made me think. I went this evening. We went out just before our big outing for the day. We just went out round the corner and we went to Andrew's, and he told me that one of his former customers from Golders Green came to his shop here in Bushy to buy some things, and she was speaking to him and she asked him, "Are you open on Shabbos?" And Andrew said that yes, he is. And because in Edgware he was never open on Shabbos or Yom Tov.
Yeah.
And Andrew's telling me this, the rabbi's wife, right? So he said that the lady from Golders Green said to him, "You know, you really shouldn't be open on Shabbos. You should tell people that they shouldn't be shopping on Shabbos." So I said to Andrew, "I thought that was the rabbi's job, not your job." So they're trying to it was just wonderful, because obviously he's learning that there's a big difference between Bushy and, you know, where he was before, and he's got to get to know the community as well. But it really did make me laugh.
Hot off the presses, the Mars module has just landed on Mars.
Wow.
You heard it here first.
Wow.
I was
I
going
don't
to,
know, is that a muzzle tov? I suppose so. Let's hope.
It is for Rabbi Ochanon being an American.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. How are the Davises doing?
Well, I'm a bit broiger. She won't let me in the shul.
Me? I didn't get in the shul either. I didn't get in the shul either, Martin. Oh. Was there not enough space this week?
No, they said I'm no too old, over 70.
Yeah.
Is that what they've said now?
Yeah.
They didn't say you couldn't. The advice was that you shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Left it on the moon.
I know there wasn't enough space for me this week, so
Oh, yeah.
yeah. But are you doing all right otherwise?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have to daven at home, that's all.
That's all.
You'll have to find another really long walk, Martin.
You're right.
Yeah.
do you still sleep through the sermon?
Well, if it's in your house.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I've had the wonderful privilege of Elchonan's been learning the Megillah this year, because Purim's going to be so strange. So he's learning how to learn it as well. So he's doing a lot of practicing. And I'm like, do you want to practice somewhere else? You know, again and again and again. It's long and it's hard, but yeah, no, it's a nice listen, even though it's not the ideal circumstance for it to come out of, but it's a nice skill that he's picking up now as well. But yeah, especially on Shabbos, you get to hear it again and again and again and again. Anyway, Elaine, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, all
Lovely
good.
to see you. Good.
Yeah.
Keeping busy? Ish.
There's not a lot to do.
Yeah.
I saw the grandchildren this week. I walked one round the boulevard in Boreham Wood today, and we walked the others round the lake one day this week. So at least I've seen.
That's really nice. Yeah, just to find things to do together.
Yeah. Yes.
Because everyone's on half term this week, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Carol, how are you doing?
Yes, good, thank you.
Good.
Pleased to hear everybody else is fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice to have a chance to check in, isn't it? And see how everyone's
Absolutely.
doing.
I was waiting. I was here 10 minutes early and nobody was here.
Oh, needed a bit of the pre-schmooze before, was it the drinks before, the pre-drinks before the event begins, right? Yeah, lovely. And Miriam, how are you in sunny Kew Gardens?
Practicing Megillah like your husband.
Yeah.
Only one chapter, but I am going round and round.
You
I
must
have
know
actually,
it. You must know it so well by now.
I have actually been able to borrow a Megillah, the one my nephew has, a very small Megillah. Your husband would love it. It's 8 centimeters. It's actually beautiful. The script in it is beautiful. Oh, it'll disappear into the flowers.
Is it a bit small for you to read, or it's fine?
It's fine to read, but the only issue I've got is I haven't opened. You see, I've actually at the moment got it like a Sefer Torah open at the chapter. Okay. So this is disappearing into Kew Gardens. Yeah. This is no good. I'll come home.
Okay.
Quickly.
Oh, welcome back home. Sorry, you can go back there soon. So are you trying? You need to fold it.
Well, that's the issue. I haven't actually opened it because it'll go for miles and miles and miles, and it's a
really good question, Miriam. Actually, if you're only reading your section, if you need to fold the whole thing, or if you could leave it like that.
But I will want to follow.
Oh, that's true.
From the whole thing.
That's true. That's true.
I was speaking to Amanda this evening. She says apparently that the shul will have one for me.
Okay, so what I understood is there is one, but the script in it is not as clear.
Okay.
So it's up to you what you prefer.
I'll have a look at it, but yeah, I mean, this is, I mean, Simon, my nephew, this is the Sofair turned accountant. He would not have bought one that was not, you know, beautifully written and beautifully clear. And interestingly, this is even decorated, and it's on beautiful. It's such thin parchment. It's beautiful, and this is absolutely what your husband would love. It rolls up. You know what it. You know what it lives in during.
Can I guess before you show me? Can I guess? Is it a whiskey bottle?
It's a minute. It's a miniature.
Yeah, I knew. I knew it. Perfect. Wow. So it's really mini. Amazing.
Well, it's got a little cut. It's got a cover, which I think before I give it back, I'll sew the popper back on. So. Yeah. It obviously came with that little bit like a Sefer Torah that just opens up. It lives in that to keep it safe.
Brilliant. I love it. It's really interesting because obviously it's a very big it's a very big breakthrough that the Beis Din have said this year, that it's okay to fulfill your mitzvah of listening to the Megillah in such a varied way. You know, whether it's coming in person, and we're offering the 3 options of coming in person, being in the car and listening through an amplifier, or being on Zoom. And obviously it was quite a difficult thing for them to come to that decision, because listening to Megillah is such an important mitzvah. It's one of those times that everyone's meant to be there and you're meant to listen to every single word. I remember there's been years where, you know, there's been some disturbance in shul or someone's spoken to me during the Megillah, and I've actually had to go and find a later Megillah to sit through the whole thing because you literally have to hear every single word. And yet this year they're saying that we can be on Zoom, and it's just kind of an indication of the times that we're in. You know, it's just very, very strange what's going on. Oh, and we have a rabbi to join us. Look at that.
Aviva said that she has been, they asked the question about saying the barachat, and so she's starting, she will learn chapter 1, and she's been told if she then carries on to herself reading the rest of the Megillah for herself, she'll obviously will all be, everybody else is on mute apart from person laning, that they have said that's how it should be done.
So she can say the one on reading the Megillah rather just on hearing the Megillah. That's the blessing she's saying. I'm not sure.
I haven't asked that question.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. So this whole, you know, the Zoom world is a really strange one. And actually, even before we get to Purim, there's something really interesting about this Shabbat, which Elchanan will explain, I'm sure, in more detail in a second. But I always
Jacqueline, just sorry. 1 week I come late to chicken soup and becomes all halachic and rabbinic. What's gone wrong over here? What's going on? What have you've hijacked our session?
No, we're just talking about Purim. But I was actually going to make a confession here that before we moved back to the UK, when we were living in Israel, I was very much a 3 times a year Jew. I would go to shul to listen to Shofar on Rosh Hashanah, listen to Parshat Zohar, which is this week, and to listen to Megillah. That was it. You know, they didn't have children's services. I was at home. I didn't ever go to shul. So actually, the idea of not being in shul was, or coming back to shul was something that I had to relearn when we came back to the United Synagogue. But specifically this weekend, the portion that we read is a mitzvah for us to listen to. And it's really interesting that, again, this year, we know that a lot of people won't be able to come to shul. So it's like a really different experience. And, you know, maybe Elchanan, if you're allowed to talk about the rabbinic side of it for a second, it's not what I wanted to talk about, but since you brought it up, just in terms of what's happening this year, why it's so different.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, good to see everyone, and I hope the check-in has gone well. I'll just since you've asked how am I doing? Yeah, it's
how's your day been? I haven't seen you.
Yeah, I've been in shul. I kid you not. I've been in shul since 7:30 this morning, and I have not left since then. Yeah.
And today's your day off, right?
And today's my day off. Today's my day off. Yeah. It might have to do something. It might have to do something with the fact that Jacqueline's changed the locks yet again. But
don't blame me.
Wake up and go home.
I think it has more something to do with the fact that the children need entertaining, so I'll kind of escape.
I've been living on a liquid diet today, but I'm doing okay from my troubles. That's absolutely fine. Okay, it is one of the things which probably goes under the radar in terms of significance within the United Synagogue, but Zachor is one of the obligations that we have to remember. We have to remember that which Amalek did. It's to remind us about vulnerability. It's to remind us of what happens when you disconnect from spirituality, and it reminds us of what it means to prey upon those who are weaker. And it's always been a very strong tradition to hear this recitation whilst having in mind what is evil and what is good. Judaism believes in that, by the way. We do believe that there's good and there's evil. That's a different conversation. And Amalek definitely falls on the wrong side because of the choices that they made. Normally in Shul, we would open up the reading for everyone to hear. Obviously, we can't do that this year for a host of reasons. So in order to accommodate people who would want to hear or are not able to go to Shul, we'll have a reading which will be on Shabbat afternoon, 20 minutes before Mincha time in the car park. So we'll read from the Torah in the public for people to be outdoors. And for those who aren't comfortable to do that, which is absolutely understandable, tomorrow, before Kabbalah Shabbat, I will read from the Torah, so you'll be able to hear it on Zoom as well, so that you will have a chance, even if it's not on Shabbat, but on the Friday, which is pretty good going anyway. I suppose, although it is a big mitzvah, which is important, for me, it's also an opportunity to remember the whole concept of remembering. And the importance of remembering what the role that remembering plays in our people. I'm not going to give away too much because there's an excellent forum magazine coming out before Pesach, but I know a rabbi who wrote an article about remembering in that magazine. I know him very well. I've just spent the last 12 hours with him and
only him and the computer screen.
And the computer.
How is Rabbi Nick?
Yeah, but actually that was that was kind of what I wanted to throw out here tonight, more than having a halachic discussion, was more that the role of memory and remembering things and how important that is. And obviously, we connect it, the word, even this Shabbat is called Shabbat Zachar, and we know the word Yiskar, like that's such a central idea. But I thought I actually wanted just to ask people on here what when we talk about memory and the importance of remembering, what springs to mind, or what the importance of it, or what your thoughts are about it as well. So I don't know if anyone wants to share just their thoughts on how significant memories and remembrance are. And I thought, especially now we're coming up to a year of being in this situation of the pandemic, Purim is really bringing up a lot of memories for all of us, I think, because Purim was probably the last time where as a community we really got together in a normal way. So what our thoughts are in terms of memories and remembering. Anyone want to share?
Well, for me it's a very special Shabbos because my son was bar mitzvahed on Zachor.
Wow.
It is 1991, but still the memory still is very vivid.
Yeah. Mazel
He
tov.
moaned
That's
and
very
complained
special.
about the length of the Pasha, but still.
Mazel tov. That's very special.
Thank you, it is.
That reminds me, it was my nephew's bar mitzvah as well, the one I spoke of, yeah.
Self-teaching.
Interesting.
Didn't have the wording.
I mean, when I think about remembering, there's two parts to remembering. What do I want to remember? Yeah, I'll give you just an example. We're not on the same screen, so I could respond now. So I'm not getting.
I can't nudge him.
I'm not getting kicked under the table. This is fantastic.
I can't mute you though. I am the host.
Go for it, Jackie.
You can't do that. You can't do that when he's at home.
When he's home, I can't mute him. Now I can.
My mother lost last week. Her best friend passed away from cancer, and obviously tremendous grief over it. And I was speaking to her about it, and she did something which I never really understood. It never really dawned on me of what a parent does, and basically she started talking to me about. She said, "Do you remember that Emmy did this? Do you remember that Emmy did that?" And I was trying to work out, why is she doing this? Why is she asking me? And it wasn't because she's reminiscing. She was handing over to me the memory. She wanted, it was important to her that the things were not going to be forgotten, that someone would remember them. So obviously she was coming in terms of her own, how long, you know, please God, for many, many years and everything like that. But if someone else, if you don't hand over the memory to someone else, then it's lost. So there's an element of remembering what's important for us to remember, but it's also important of what do we want to hand over that other people will be able to remember that's important. I never thought about it that way. Maybe the foolishness of youth, I don't know. But for you guys,
Thank you.
Are there things that is that important to you that others can hold memory?
Yes, it is, because my grandchildren constantly ask us questions about how we grew up and about our grandparents. So we're going back into the early 1900s. So the grandchildren want to know what went before, and we have to tell them what went on. And my mother also made sure that we knew what went on so that we could pass it on down. And our grandchildren love the stories.
Yeah, I think our grandchildren are much more inquisitive to us, and certainly I was with my own. Yeah. My own grandparents were so much older than me, if I can put it like that, and we didn't have the relationship that grandparents have today with their children. Spend more time with them when they're growing up, when they're younger, and you have such fun together communicating that.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of
as a story for them.
What's that?
Yeah.
Write it down as a story for them, because they can then keep it. In other words, write down what you've done in your life up to now. It's your story.
Someone in the community just handed me a few weeks ago, and their family history that they wrote out the history, and they gave me a copy of it. Someone else gave me a pictorial memory book of their family, because it meant something to them.
We've made so my father's mother was one of many, and she came over in the kinder transport, and we've made now like a Feingold family WhatsApp group, and one of the cousins has just translated some of the letters that his mother had received from his siblings who were who didn't manage to escape before the Holocaust. And one of the really difficult things is there's nobody to ask to understand any of the memories. Like there's some names there, but we just don't know who those people are. And I think that, that's one of the really difficult things about the memories, is when you have some of the information, but we can't, and we keep saying, my father also says, he wishes that he would have asked his mother while she was alive.
Yeah.
So many questions.
That's why to write it down is so important.
Yeah. And I think one of the really special things that we did was when I was in year 7 in school, and I know a lot of the schools do this, was we wrote a family history project, and it's so precious that I asked some questions of my great uncle and my grandmother, and because they're not here to ask those questions anymore. So I think you're right. I think the more that can be, and there's so many clever ways of doing that now as well, like the videos and tapes and just to record people. But I think this idea of memories is something that's so precious. I don't remember, it's ironic, but I don't remember most of what I learned in university, because that's just, I guess, as much, when I was there, I studied hard and I passed my exam, but it obviously wasn't very much committed to long-term memory. But part of what I learned in neuroscience, one of the things that I do remember is actually how our sense of smell is very closely connected to our memory. So the neurons from our sense of smell lie right inside the area that holds our memories. And I always find it fascinating. There's one type of shampoo, and you'll laugh at me, it's like a black tar kind of shampoo that my grandmother used to use because she had like a skin condition. But whenever I smell that smell, I remember her house. And it is an amazing thing. I think that something like the sense of smell can really connect us to our memories. It's an amazing thing how memory works. It's really fascinating because we don't really understand it. We're, you know, generally how the brain works, we don't really understand, but the formations of memories, it is a really interesting thing how we remember things and why we remember certain things as well.
It's interesting that you talk about the letters. You could read the letters. Our children and our grandchildren will not be reading our emails or our texts. They've gone.
You say that, and of course you look at it as a family issue, and it is, but it's much worse than that. It's a national issue, because how do we know about what the generations that came before us? Because of the letters. We know the Genizas, you know, and we have the records. And I went to gosh, where was I? I went to Prague. I was in Prague at the rabbinical conference, a European rabbis conference, and the chief rabbi of Moscow got up to speak, and he said, we have an existential crisis that's taking place. And the existential crisis is that we will not have records of our Judaism because we don't have the letters. Sure, you'll have books, but books don't tell you anything. Books tell you about information. They don't tell you about what's really happening, and because it's in the ether, it's in the clouds, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
It's sad.
You're right. We've got the videos, but the written stuff is gone or is going. Yeah. That's made us happy.
Well,
that's interesting because I wonder if they'll come out with, you know, the WhatsApp message conversations, and you know, because that is really interesting, like to see what you know, how Parliament's WhatsApp groups, or you know, like I can imagine that will become just the normal way of doing things.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we're doing is a social record in itself. Nobody will ever see it, apart from those on Facebook.
Yeah, Henry.
I need a bit of my confusion at the moment. We were talking about memory, and one of the things we always prompts our memory is the Yortzeit. We say Kaddish.
Yeah.
As well.
He's not invented it.
We've heard this evening that we can listen to Megillah on Zoom.
What? What? Can't hear what he's saying.
What?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. You said we can listen to the Megillah on Zoom. Why can't we have Kaddish on Zoom?
Okay. It's on one foot. On one foot, the answer is you need a physical presence of a minyan for a Kaddish. You don't need a physical presence of a minyan for a Megillah, and therefore you are able to hear Megillah via technology, but not. You don't have 10 people together, so you just can't say Kaddish. That's the answer on one foot.
In other words,
Can you make sure you get 10 people?
I'm sorry, Henry, I lost that. Sorry,
so really the Zoom service for Shacharis in the morning and Mincha and Marav really doesn't count.
No, that's not that. Of course it counts. It just you can't use it from where you are to say Kaddish, but of course it counts. You are sharing prayer together. You just don't have a minyan. It very much counts. Very much counts.
I'm still confused now. Thank you.
Clearly have done my job well.
But there is another prayer that you say instead on Zoom, right?
Yes. Henry's familiar. You're familiar with the Mourner's prayer that we recite. You know, Zachor, once a year we remember, but as Jewish people, we live with memory, and it infuses everything that we do. I suppose Rabbi Sachs would often say this: we do our best going forward by remembering the past. And
Words of wisdom.
that's the way it is. That is the way it is.
Well, only if you learn the lesson of the past, and and either A, live up to it, or B, improve it. I mean, it's that's the whole thing.
That's right.
Yeah,
that is right. Yeah, without that, then you're Amalek, basically. Everything is just random and nothing matters, and that's chaos. That's not good. That's not good at all. Gosh, a bit of more of a somber one this evening, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Yes. Next week will be.
But next week we're not going to be having chicken soup together. We're going to be playing bingo together. So make sure that you've signed up. If you're not coming out, we can get the bingo cards delivered to you as well. But it should be a really lovely way to be able to celebrate Purim together, because I think talking about making memories, or having memories, but making memories, I think that's really what we have to make sure that we're making wonderful memories together. So our normal wonderful Thursday night memories are going to be slightly different next week. Elchanan might have a few more l'chaims. I think he's probably had plenty, but he might have even more next week. But it should be really special to be able to celebrate Purim with you all.
We all deserve to have for enjoying ourselves, a bit of fun and being happy. And we've had a heck of a year. So let's let our hair down a little bit, whatever that means for each of us in our own way, and just have a bit of good fun.
We have a lot to be grateful for.
Definitely.
Yeah. Rebbe, where can we get kosher Pesach vaccines?
You just need to boil it before you use it. That's all. It's fine.
I said that. Read the label.
Sticking it in the ground.
Yeah. Please don't. Well, really, really wonderful to see everyone this evening.
Okay, Jacqueline,
it's always a good laugh, isn't it? Elchanan, you're allowed home now.
Don't forget the flowers.